Hey guys, what's going on? I'm doing another part to the video on HEXGO, this indicator system that basically you get 60 days for free, which really caught my interest. I've seen lots of ads on Facebook for it, so I thought I'd give it a shot. My initial impressions from some of the previous videos were quite bad. It's improving as I go, and I just want to talk a little bit more today about why I'm seeing the pros and the cons and adding different signals in, going through all their different indicator systems and oscillator type systems that they have. So thought I'd do a quick video again on HEXGO. Again, you can check it out. Just type in HEXGO into Google and go and get your 60-day trial, so you don't just have to take my word for some of these things. It's not one of my favorite ones at the moment. It's interesting because of the 60-day trial, which is unheard of, really. Anyway, just want to remind you guys, if you're watching this before June 27th, so Thursday, a couple of days from now, then Lance from Theta Traders and I are doing a live stream, so it's definitely worth hitting the notify me button or subscribing to the channel. Obviously, that's the one I'd prefer. Hit subscribe and hit the notification button. So when we go live on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you get notified that we're going live, and you can chat to us in the chat box live. It's all about these Monday super spreads that we do in Theta Traders, and we're launching one of the lowest cost services probably in the industry on these super spreads, and they have a 90% win rate, so really fantastic. If you want to get a little jump start on this, if you're completely new to the concept of selling option spreads or doing spreads with options, then you might want to download our Ultimate Guide to Credit Spreads, completely free, and all you have to do is go to the link in the description below and make sure that you put in your email address, and we'll send you the guide for these types of spreads. And typically people are earning 24 to 48% per year. In this webinar, we're going to show you the actual data so that you can see for yourself what these spreads are like, what the stop losses are like, what the profits are like, what the profit factors are, all this good stuff in the webinar, so make sure you come to that. I think you'll find it really, really useful. It's one of the most passive income streams that I've really ever been part of, so pretty excited about it. All right, let's move on to the actual topic. So HEXGO. So what you're looking at here, and I'm going to just try and juggle TradingView around a little bit. These things can look so complex right off the bat. So what I've done here is I want to illustrate a couple of things. First off, we're on SPY, and it's a 1 hour chart. So I've just picked this time frame because it seems to work fairly well with this particular indicator system. And like I said before, TF is actually the buy signal for this HEXGO. And so what was interesting is they actually are quite good. So they put out the signals checklist, and I keep getting people saying, oh, if these systems are so easy to follow and you just buy when it says buy and you sell when they sell, then everybody would be millionaires and rich and wealthy from trading. And I point out to them that it's not as easy as that. A lot of people that think that will lose money on these things. And what you want to do is have lots of confluence. So these guys are actually quite good, as they say that, and they show you what the good signals are versus the bad signals. So I wanted to show you this. They have the top one here, which is the signals. So the TF up sign. And then they have volume. And then they have these things that they call power and rocket. And these are different oscillators, essentially, that you see with most of these systems. So they provide these power and rockets, and there's another one that they have as well. And they want you to align everything to make sure that you're basically getting the best confluence on the signals. And when people do that, they get far fewer signals, so the impatient people, including myself, might actually end up losing out, just when there's just not enough trades for us. And that's one of the problems I'm starting to see with this. In order to get a good signal with these confluences, it's cutting down so many signals that we're just left with the odd signal here and there, which for a lot of people is not enough. They want to trade a little bit more frequently. And so I'm going to show you some examples. And so they say this is for bullish, so if you want to go long on these things, you want to see these criteria. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these, partly because I don't actually have premium TradingView at the moment, so I can't add more than two of the main signals, right? So I can add the actual signals, this one, and I can add the volume, and I can add the power, but I can't simultaneously add the rocket in there as well. If you did that, you'd probably find you reduce the number of signals that are fitting the good signal criteria even further. Now this is worth doing with any system, so we're not just talking about HEXGO here, we're talking about Algo Pro. You want to look for increasing volume, at least a green volume bar, and you want to have some sort of confluence with something else, whether it's RSI or moving averages or whatever it is you want to do. They also have oscillators and things like AlgoPro Pro as well. But I thought it was nice that they actually put together a thing in their Discord, which is this sort of tick sheet. And here's like the opposite, right? So if you want to do a short signal, you want to see a short signal obviously on the chart. You want to see a red thing on here and then on the power thing. And let's go into the real thing and I'll show you exactly what we mean. So I picked this signal right here, and you can see the first criteria is met. We have a positive uptrend, so that's where it's basically saying to go long. But when you expand this out, you also see we have a green candle right where my cursor is. So on the volume right here, just draw it. Might actually be helpful to draw on the chart here. So if we go straight down here, this bar right here is green. So we zoom in. So that's the first kind of like confluence. Oops. Forgot it was on scribble mode, I call it. Let's get rid of that. So that's the first confluence, right? That you have a green volume bar. Now in my head I'd prefer to see this as a strong green volume bar, and I'll show you an example of that. But the other thing is that they insist that you also have these green dots. So what we're looking at in this box right here is the HEXGO Power version 3, and basically this measures bullish and bearish power, right? So basically they're saying that you need to have these green dots that appear, and they appear when we have a lot of bullish power. So you've got to have the signal. The volume has to be a green bar, preferably high volume in my opinion, but not according to them and not according to this particular signal. And then also, like, you have to have these dots. See these dots right here? Just kind of scribble. So you see these dots appearing, kind of like a TTM squeeze almost or something. So you can see that we're starting to align everything all the way down to here. And basically that's what they say is a good signal. And you can see that that signal actually worked pretty well. It went all the way up to, and this is a cool thing, they keep the profit target thing there even though this is a previous signal. So you can see if we squeeze this down a little bit, you can see that this signal, this was the profit target right here. So there was a bit of chop, but it didn't stop out. Eventually there was a take profit here. This continued even further, but the system basically told us to take profit there. It's an interesting way of doing things. So here's an example of some trades that didn't work. And so these are considered bad trades, and this is where people need to start filtering their trades on all systems, including Algo Pro. So I know a lot of people use Algo Pro here, but this kind of applies too. So look at this one. This is why it's a bad signal. You have a TF, which is signals a downtrend or a short. You have a red candle, which is good, right? So that those two things are met. But when you look at the dots on the power thing, we've just had this chop, and in this area right here where we should see, if you draw a line down here, there's no dots in this area right here. There are other dots scattered around, but this is a failed signal because there's no dots on the power signal. So you wouldn't take this trade and you would miss this, and it would be a good thing because it barely went down. Like, it stopped out pretty quickly. So you wouldn't want to really take this trade. But this is an hourly chart, and you can see that we only have had, really the last signal was days before, and it lasted days. So these are very infrequent signals on the 1 hour chart. And then in those infrequent signals, we start to get signals that are not fitting the criteria for high confluence signals. Again, with this one, you had a nice positive signal. We had a very low volume green bar, but then no dots in this area here to signify like extra bull power. So these ones would be ignored as well. But then you're talking days and days later until you get other signals coming in. Let me just get rid of this again. So you can see how, like, on the 1 hour chart on HEXGO, you're not getting very many signals, and when you do get them, they do work generally if everything aligns. Here's one that I thought was interesting. This is the biggest green volume bar that I've seen, and this is something you could add with Algo Pro, right? You just wait for the really big green volume if you're going long. And even though there was no dots in this case, there was no green dots, they're over here though, this signal actually worked out really, really well. So it's not always the case that things will only work when all the confluence is there, but it's a good habit to get into. For this one, the volume alone might have been enough to tell you that this would be a good trade, and sure enough, it was a good trade. It went all the way up here, which was really nice. So again, they're saying that you need to add another layer, which is this rocket, which is basically similar to the power, but it's more like an oscillator type thing. And it's also got to show these dots that they keep talking about here. So you'd want the signal down, the dots on the power one, red volume bar, and then basically the dots on the other thing. And that rocket thing's in here as well, so we can take a quick look at it. I'll have to get rid of the power one first though, so let's take a quick look at the rocket one. Let's see, trash this one. So if we go into indicators, go to HEXGO, as it's called, and put on the rocket thing here. So you can see that again on this particular bar there wasn't any dots in this one. So let's have a look and see though if there was on that good signal back here I showed you. So actually there wasn't. So these actually were the mixed signals. So those were kind of crappy as well. If we go back all the way back here though, did that original bool signal that we first talked about. See again, the dot started, but it was a couple of candles after this. So getting everything to align is pretty difficult. And on the 1 hour time frame, you're going to have a hard time basically getting many trades whatsoever. Things get messier on the shorter time frames, but we can kind of have a look and see. We need to reorganize this. So this is like the 5-minute chart for people that want to do much shorter time frames. So let's have a look. So just trying to. So it's going to be interesting. So this one signified a buy sign. Obviously, it didn't really work. It had the dots on this particular indicator, but did it have the volume? So that's kind of the big question, right? Is does it have the volume? So if we make this go like here, it did actually have a green volume bar. So it's interesting. That one would have been one that the criteria, at least for these ones, would have been met, but it would have still ended in a failed signal. So yeah. Anyway, hopefully I've given you some ideas. I think having Confluence, like just having a green volume bar when you're looking for a long and a red volume bar when you're looking for a short, preferably high volume, is going to help you. And some of these oscillators in Confluence. And so they're showing here some of what I just talked about, where it's false signals. And so they're not claiming that every signal works. None of these algos claim that any other signals work just by themselves. I think that's where a lot of people that are new to these types of algo things go a bit wrong. So if you look here, you can see that basically the candle points down, but there's a red dot here, but there's a green volume bar. So volume bar is not red. So that's not so good. And yeah. So second color red bar, trend cycle, signal candle closed. So you can kind of get the idea for the different problems that you can have. So like for here, this is a green volume bar, but it's a down signal. The red dots are there. Red dots are there. Just kind of goes through what I just basically said. So overall, I'm not finding this system to be that helpful. It certainly isn't an improvement on Algo Pro or anything like that. And it's nice to use for 60 days for free, but I'm not sure how useful it really is. Alright, hopefully it's helpful, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Make sure you check out all the links in the description below.